What's up, guys? Mulligan here, and
You asked for it.
today I've got a game against an Aggro Shaman, and I'm playing Freeze Mage. This was actually recorded on my first day of playing Freeze Mage in Standard. So starting off in the Mulligan here, trying to see how many cards my opponent is going to toss and how many are going to be kept, and only one card ultimately gets kept, I believe. And I think the rest get tossed, I believe is what happens here. And because of that, I thought there was a good chance that I might be playing against a mid-range shaman. So I end up tossing my entire hand. Otherwise, I would have kept Doomsayer. And in hindsight, this is actually a mistake, and Doomsayer should always be kept, simply because I'm playing against Shaman, regardless of whether it's aggro or mid-range. Because Shamans, their early game minions have really high health, they're tough to deal with. So I believe on turn 1 I was planning on how the first few turns were going to play out, and different worst case scenarios that would be coming from this Shaman, if this happened to be Aggro Shaman. Or I could have been taking a quick piss. I don't really remember. But I passed the turn, and my opponent is going to coin out a Flame Juggler on turn 1. And he proceeds to give me the customary greetings. And I should have known from that my opponent was playing Aggro Shaman, but I don't figure it out until turn 3. So I top deck Loot Hoarder, and I decided to take a bit of a risk and not clear the Juggler with Frostbolt, and just play Loot Hoarder instead, hoping to ping the Juggler on turn 4 and then Frostbolt something else. But my opponent has the other Flame Juggler in hand, plays it, and he gets the roll, and I get punished pretty hard. So because of that, I decided I just wanted to use all of my mana for the next few turns, and I just go ahead and just set up Ice Block and leave both of these Jugglers up, which is pretty scary. Going up against 2 Jugglers, and the fact that now that Sir Finley's come down, now I know it's Aggro Shaman. So this makes this board even more scary. My opponent's going to play Tunnel Trog and Abusive Sergeant to buff a Juggler, and I end up taking 6 damage for it. But I stick with the plan and use all my mana this turn too. I go ahead and Frostbolt the Tunnel Trog. Since it represents too much damage potential, that's one of those must-kill minions, similar to Knife Juggler. And I ping off the Abusive Sergeant with my hero power. Tuskar Totemic's going to come down. Thankfully, my opponent does not get a Flame Tongue Totem or a Totem Golem. And I'm going to take a bunch more damage. I top deck the second Loot Hoarder. I go ahead and use the Frostbolt to clear the second Juggler, and then I go ahead and Ice Lance the Tuskar Totemic, because now I've realized that I need to extend the game as long as possible. So that was the point of using a couple of my freeze cards there, so I could stem some of the bleeding, or stem the bleeding as much as I can. So here my opponent makes a big mistake. Has the Flame Wreath Faceless, and buffs the Juggler with the second Abusive Sergeant, but my opponent decides to clear the Loot Hoarder instead of going face with Sir Finley. And my opponent pays for it big time, because it allows me to draw Doomsayer and then top deck a Frost Nova. If my opponent had gone face with Sir Finley, then I would have had to ping my own Loot Hoarder, and then I still wouldn't have been able to well, I could have done it, but honestly, I probably wouldn't have thought about it. I probably would have pinged the Abusive Sergeant, honestly. But and my opponent didn't have Earthshock. So the Doomsayer goes off, the whole board gets cleared. I top deck Ice Barrier, I go ahead and play that and just ping face for the turn. And now my opponent has to start over again and build up a board again to try to take me out. So Feral Spirit comes down, and I get hit with the hero power. the Hunter hero power. I top deck Archmage Antonidas. I go ahead and use an Ice Lance, the second Ice Lance here, since I don't have any Frost Bolts left to take advantage of Ice Lance. The only freeze cards I would have left are Blizzard, Frost Nova, the second Frost Nova, and a Cone of Cold. So I go ahead and get some value out of Antonidas right now and get a Fireball. I'm hoping this Antonidas sticks, but my opponent's going to play Tunnel Trog, and on this turn he actually has Lava Burst. So he's going to, between that and the Feral Spirit that's not frozen, Antonidas is going to get taken out. So on this turn, I top deck a Cone of Cold. So I'm getting some pretty decent top decks here. I go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and use the Cone of Cold. And here I was trying to make the decision between killing the Eternal Sentinel or pinging the Tunnel Trog, and I decide to ping the Tunnel Trog over 2 turns instead of taking the easy kill on the Eternal Sentinel, because again, Tunnel Trog, it represents too much damage potential. So I would rather do that than kill the Eternal Sentinel, which is, I think, was the correct play. Now here, my opponent actually top decks Doomhammer, I believe, but thankfully I have the Ice Barrier up. This is why I wasn't too worried about freezing my opponent's face, because I figured the Ice Barrier wasn't even procced yet. So even if my opponent had Doomhammer, then the Ice Barrier would probably be able to soak up all the damage unless he paired it with Rockbiter weapon. So my opponent, he sits there and thinks for a while though, which I'm honestly not sure why, but he decides to just go with the Doomhammer and then just punch through most of the barrier. But I end up coming out of that turn with 8 life instead of 6. So now here I'm going into turn 10, and here the plan, I was just gonna drop Alexstrasza right here and now, but I draw Arcane Intellect, and I decide to take another risk, and I decide to draw with Arcane Intellect to try and get Reno Jackson activated. Thankfully, I drew into the second ice block, but because of this, Alexstrasza is going to be a lot less useful for the rest of the game, as you guys will see in a little bit. So my opponent's got 11 damage just off on the board right now without using any cards. So the block is going to get popped here, and I kind of pay for not pinging the Sentinel a little bit because my opponent has Master of Evolution and basically gets to heal the Eternal Sentinel, and it becomes an Earthen Ring Farseer. So a bit of an upgrade there. Plays Totem Golem. I top deck the second Doomsayer, and I have to play Ice Block here, but I was trying to decide if I should Fireball the Master of Evolution now or wait. And after some thinking, I decide that I'm not going to Fireball it now, and I decide that I'm going to play Emperor Thaurissan and then just Ice Block and end the turn and let my opponent pop the second block. I did this because I really wanted to discount Alexstrasza, so that way I could, if nothing else, I could at least hero power on the same turn if I needed to ping something off, or just to deal 1 damage just in general. So it's gonna take out Emperor Thaurissan, which is fine. 1 tick is all I could ask for. Lightning Bolt comes out of his hand, and thankfully I draw the last card that I'm running 2 copies of in this deck, Molten Giant. So I'm gonna play Molten Giant here, and I'm just making sure that I play things in the correct order, make sure I have enough mana to do things. I use the Antonidas' Fireball to kill the Master of Evolution, and then I go ahead and Reno and ping my opponent's face and end the turn. So here, unfortunately, my opponent can still do a pretty good amount of damage, and top decks the first rock biter weapon, which is really sucks, because this is going to be 18 damage coming at my dome, and it would have only been 12, which is still a lot, but I mean, it's Aggro Shaman. This is the type of burst that Aggro Shamans can potentially put out. So here I'm assessing the situation again and wondering what top decks would kill me if I cleared the board. I realized the only way I could still die next turn is if my opponent top decks the second Rockbiter weapon. So I go ahead and clear the board and then play Alexstrasza now and then gain 3 health and get out of range of that. Now here, I have lethal in hand. Now that I have Alexstrasza down, I have 20 damage on board. 21 with my hero power.
Well played.
Which I don't even need. I have between Fireball and Forgotten Torch, I have lethal in hand. So my opponent top decks the second Totem Golem. Goes ahead and does his damage. And here I decide to do what is always custom and go for the maximum BM. I drop Doomsayer because the end is coming. I kill his Totem Golem with Forgotten Torch. And then I realized I needed the Forgotten Torch to kill my opponent instead. I could not believe it. I wish I had my camera on when I played this. I literally got up out of my chair after squelching my opponent because I killed his Totem Golem way too fast with the Forgotten Torch. I needed the Forgotten Torch to kill him. And I was walking around the room. I even walked into the bathroom because I just could not look at the screen after realizing my mistake. And I was not off to a good start this day when I was playing Freeze Mage. Because again, that was my first day playing Freeze Mage in Standard. I had lost 4 in a row. I hadn't won a game yet. And out of all of the damage my opponent could top deck to kill me, because Aggro Shaman has a lot of direct damage in their deck. Out of all the cards that he could have top decked to kill me, and here I'm thinking he's just gonna BM me back and just kill me right before he ropes. The card turns out to be Feral Spirit. And I breathed a sigh of relief. I was just so relieved. And that is going to be the game. So I'm going to ping my opponent and just get out of this game and get my first win with Freeze Mage. So that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the match. If you like this match, feel free to hit the thumbs up button down below. It really helps me out. If you disliked it, the dislike button is never far away from the thumbs up button. Feel free to subscribe too so you guys don't miss any future content. But whew, that was a close game. Anyway, until next time, Mulligan has left the building. You guys take care. Peace.